Draped in scarlet robes and colorful headscarves, they weave and pulse in metrical synchrony. Cascading down from shoulder to feet, their garments billow in puffy, tiered layers. Chins held high, with voices aligned in harmonic unison. Their chorus is amplified by their vivid chromatics. Their arrival is heralded by a trumpeter's soulful wail. He too is clad in a crimson robe. They follow his path up a wide marble staircase. They assemble in a rhythmic choreography of color, voice, and step. As they climb ever higher from stair to stair, their harmonies intertwine in a collective refrain. Each step elevates them into an ever-warming hue. It engulfs them in orange sepia illumination, a chromatic infusion that intensifies our encounter with this scarlet-clad ensemble. It is a characteristically iterative work for an artist with a deep commitment to repetition and return. Julian Knox's multidisciplinary practice bridges poetry and movement, sound and music, film and performance. While he embraces a wide-ranging bricolage of media and forms, he is also an artist committed to research practices that seek to make the sonic resonance of the African diaspora audible in ways that foreground the role of the chorus as a tool of Black struggle and a source of transnational and transcultural connection. It is an approach informed by his own fugitive trajectory, which took him from war-torn Sierra Leone as a child to temporary refuge in the Gambia, then onward to his current domicile in London, where he has resided since the age of 15. Shifting Spirit Time is a 3-channel video installation and one of a trilogy of works exploring the rich textures of diasporic mourning practices. It is a trilogy originally presented at Bureau Stedelijk, a gallery within a gallery specializing in experimental artwork at the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam. At its core is Chorus in Flight, a one-day performance presented as part of Bureau's experimental series Manifestations, and staged here on the steps of the museum by the Memoria Collective, a choir conducted by Alique Curiel, whose members hail from Suriname, Curaçao, and Cape Verde. The artist returned to the Stedelijk the following year to present Shifting Spirit Time, which reimagined the original performance with newly shot footage. So the image on the left is from Shifting Time Spirit. His 2025 exhibition placed this work in dialogue with And If a Tree Sees It All, a 3-channel video installation that pays homage to the 1992 Bilmelmer disaster, a catastrophic event that took the lives of 43 people who died in what was described as an apocalyptic inferno that erupted when El Al Flight 1862 crashed into 2 apartment buildings in Amsterdam's southeast district of Bilmelmer. This area of low-income, high-rise apartment buildings housed a large community of Surinamese immigrants who had recently acquired Dutch citizenship after Suriname gained independence from Dutch colonial control in 1975, as well as a significant population of Antillean and Ghanaian migrants. Their movement is not confined to ascent and descent. It is directed outward and inward as well. Her hands push away, then gather up and return it to the body. Her arms wave and flow through gestures that beckon and greet. Her rounded arms cradle and mimic and embrace. They're expressive gestures of communication and conductions of vocal and communal synchrony. Their harmonies align the choir with an audience that hovers entranced above, below, and around them. She conducts them through movement, breath, and sound. It is a conduction calibrated and coordinated by a repeated utterance. Way, way, way. What is the way? It's the room speaking spirit. It's the body calling out. And if a tree sees it all, Chorus in Flight and shifting spirit time. While divergent in tenor and form, they are a trio of experimental artworks that share a common thread. Each uses sound, movement, and choral utterance to transform the spatial dynamics of the gallery into a conduit for the sonic registers of Black grief and mourning. Whether honing in on the lingering local impact of the Bilma catastrophe, or zooming out to mourn the intergenerational losses of Black communities through forced displacement from war or captivity, each work creates a sonic experience that channels the grief and communal wayfinding practices of those left behind. They are artworks that require and demand a level of responsiveness and the active practice of witnessing I refer to as listening to images. Julian Knox calls it deep listening, but borrowing from the late American composer and theorist Pauline Oliveras, it might also be akin to what she calls quantum listening. For Oliveras, quantum listening mobilizes all our senses in an active form of attention and conscientious awareness of one's own listening. Thinking Oliveras' insight alongside Julian Knox's probing trio requires us to refine her proposition in one important way. Rather than listening in quantum listening, I believe these artworks require us to listen in quantum. The chords of an organ rise in the background, 5 syllables sound in rapid succession, way, 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 way. As the choir descends in perfect V formation on screens left and right, a soloist echoes these same syllables in a syncopated accompanying rhythm, way, 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 way. When the crimson panels return, the left panel queries the meaning of the choir's repeated syllable, while center and right respond. Assembled before an arcing window, her arms extend and retract, undulate and beat. As she sways in front of the choir, their hands mimic hers. She conducts a rhythmic cadence of voices as they fade from view. The crimson call and response return. What is the way? It is the room holding spirit. It is the body calling out. Way, way, way. A repeated refrain of monosyllabic choral utterances. What does it sound? It sounds the frequencies of Black diasporic mourning and diasporic mourning practices that grieve intergenerational losses. It sounds the enduring presence of the departed held in any space. And what is the body calling out? Listen. It is a listening practice that the artist's immersive performances and installations activate sonically and spatially by transforming the architecture of the museum into a site of collective listening in quantum. In its first iteration, Chorus in Flight, listening in quantum was staged as a live encounter with the entrancing chorus of the Memoria Collective. It was an embodied encounter where Way, Way, Way activated the sonic textures of diasporic mourning. In its second iteration, the artist recreated this encounter visually and spatially in an installation that entwined the Memorial Collective's sonic mourning frequencies in shifting spirit time with those of the Bilma Mea community in And If a Tree Sees It All, as their respective soundscapes echoed and intermingled in the adjacent galleries. The soundscape of each of these artworks summons visitors to witness diasporic grief and mourning by listening in quantum. In this stirring trio, listening in quantum means attending to polyvocal incantations of Black grief. It means creating artworks that register intergenerational loss by mobilizing the space of the gallery as a site of active attunement to the frequencies of Black mourning, generated through resonant choral arrangements of voice, music, and utterance that conjure a sonic memory of those losses. It means using sonic memory to engender a different relation to the history of these losses. Here, Brandon LaBelle's articulation of listening as more than sensory attention is an important point of reference. For LaBelle, listening is inherently affecting. It has its own form of poetics defined by noticing, feeling, and care. Like Labelle, Oliveira similarly describes quantum listening as fundamentally affecting. Yet for both Labelle and Oliveira, listening remains an individual pursuit. Listening in quantum is listening in adjacency. It is listening with and alongside and attending to what shifts in the process. It is attention that requires collective presence and responsiveness, which raises the question, what might it mean to listen in quantum to the sonic frequencies of Black grief and mourning? And what might it look like to mobilize this sonic practice to map and reclaim the social geographies of dispossessed Black communities? Section 2, chromatic soundings in the middle passage. It was a chromatic experience very different from my encounter with Knox's vibrant visual palette, one created by the technological manipulations of light and extremely challenging to render in textual form. It triggered in me the kind of synesthetic response neurologist Oliver Sacks recounted so vividly years ago, an encounter with colors so intense it felt like I was inhaling them rather than seeing them. While I wasn't able to taste them, as Sacks's patient had described, the space I occupied certainly made me feel them. In fact, it was impossible not to feel colors so vivid and enlivening. But their intensity was neither the result of the brightness of the light or any particular color in the room. It was an effect of their pureness, their clarity, and above all, their ability to envelop one in an all-encompassing sense of being bathed in color. It was this sublime convergence that made it seem like time almost stopped in the subterranean enclosure that was the setting for Steve McQueen's mesmerizing 2024 installation, Base. It was an enclosure of massive proportions, jointly commissioned by Dia Art Foundation and the Lawrence Foundation and Schaulager Basel. The installation's first home was the 30,000 square foot basement gallery of Dia Beacon, an immense concrete cavity with a markedly different feel from the pristine exhibition spaces above it. But it was the perfect site for McQueen to realize his ambition to create a liminal space where one's fate is unknown. That space is the foundational enclosure initiated by the middle passage, the hold, the cavity of the vast cargo ships that transported captive Africans from their homelands into centuries of enslavement on distant shores. Rather than showing or telling us the story of the middle passage and its terrors and consequences McQueen captured so indelibly in his depiction of the second middle passage of domestic traded slaves within the US in 12 Years a Slave, Base provokes us to feel them instead. It seduces us to relinquish our privileged relationship to sight and the claims to knowledge and transparency we ascribe to it. The dark cavity of the hold similarly stripped captives of recourse to the transparency of light. Like them, we too must rely on other senses in McQueen's disarming installation. In Base, we must use sound to orient, locate, and guide us within and through a space it suffuses with a sensorially evocative experience of diasporic grief and pathos that impacts us not through image or narrative, but instead, and more profoundly, through light and sound. As I emphasize always and again, and it bears repeating in relationship to these particularly penetrating artworks, I always make it a practice to listen attentively to images and artworks and seek to interact with them as if they were sound. Attending and attuning to the different forms of responsiveness they solicit allows the subtleties, intensities of what we see to affect and impact us. It is this idea of attunement that is central to what it means to listen to images. Yet having spent quite some time attending to the subtle and sophisticated frequencies of images and artworks, the remarkable provocation McQueen delivers in this captivating installation is to confront us with what it means to listen and attune to the frequencies of an artwork that unequivocally refuses imagery. For in base, this master filmmaker and avid cinephile eschews the power of the image in favor of the alternative forms of imagination that only sound can evoke. In this complexly layered and deeply moving work, McQueen uses color and sound to create an environment that requires visitors to attune themselves to the resident lower frequencies of collective historical trauma in the middle passage. Neither atonement nor memorial, base asks us instead to grapple with what it means to attune ourselves sonically to the foundational event of the Black diaspora. The middle passage is both the originary event of the Black diaspora and the text of Black grief. The forced displacement of roughly 15 million enslaved Africans transported as cargo in the holds of imperial mercantile vessels, and the death of upwards of 2 million souls in transit and countless others in captivity is a generational loss that continues to reverberate to this day. Base reactivates the hold as the site of collective trauma and generational grief, albeit at a markedly different register. It is an activation that uses color and sound to bring the past into contemporary presence, where base tonality and immersive illuminated color spectrum become the connected tissue between the present and the past. Perhaps it's the shadow that's most disorienting, or the lack of shadow that's most disorienting. Traversing the gallery in its absence made it eerily difficult to discern proximity. The diffused light boxes McQueen used in combination with specially adapted LED technology allowed him to create a more expansive color palette than traditional RGB lighting and saturate visitors with glowing shades of light without creating any shadow. Lacking the play of shadows that normally track our movement in relation to traditional sources of external illumination, we encounter one another by way of an involuntary, improvised choreography, orchestrated in alignment with slow, chromatic gradations of light. It is a choreography composed in concert with a subtle accompaniment. 5 bass instruments played by 5 virtuoso musicians from different diasporic lineages.